Dr. Evangeline Thorne had dreamed of becoming a surgeon since she was 7 years old, watching her grandmother die because the local hospital's male doctors refused to take a hysterical woman's chest pain seriously. Now, at 28, she was the youngest cardiac surgeon at prestigious Metropolitan Medical Center, but her male colleagues made sure she never forgot she didn't belong there. "Are you sure you can handle this procedure, Dr. Thorne?" Dr. Marcus Blackwood would ask, loudly during surgical briefings, his voice dripping with condescension. Cardiac surgery requires steady hands, not shaky female emotions. Marcus was the chief of surgery, a man who had built his reputation on taking credit for other doctors' work and covering up his own mistakes. He had made it clear from day one that he considered Evangeline's presence in his department a threat to the natural order. "Maybe you should stick to pediatrics or family medicine," suggested Dr. Richard Stone, Marcus's loyal follower. "Those fields are more nurturing, better suited for your feminine nature." Richard was known for his wandering hands and inappropriate comments, but the hospital administration always looked the other way because his family had donated millions to the medical center. What Marcus and his cronies didn't realize was that while they were playing politics and covering up their incompetence, Dr. Evangeline Thorne was revolutionizing cardiac surgery. She had developed new minimally invasive techniques that reduced recovery time by 60% and had a success rate that was 15% higher than traditional methods. The sabotage began subtly. Evangeline would arrive for surgery to find that her preferred instruments had been accidentally sterilized with the wrong equipment, making them unusable. Her surgical schedules would be changed at the last minute, forcing her to rush through procedures. Her post-operative notes would mysteriously disappear from patient files. "Dr. Thorne, your patient in room 304 is complaining about severe pain," Nurse Patricia would report, her voice filled with false concern. "Perhaps you should reconsider your pain management protocol." What Evangeline didn't know was that Patricia was secretly working with Marcus to increase her patient's pain medication unnecessarily, making it appear that her surgical techniques were causing more trauma than traditional methods. The conspiracy deepened when Evangeline discovered that Marcus had been deliberately assigning her the most complicated cases, patients that other surgeons had already declared inoperable. He was hoping she would fail publicly, giving him grounds to recommend her dismissal. But Evangeline thrived under pressure. She successfully operated on a 75-year-old man with a triple bypass that 3 other surgeons had refused to attempt. She saved a young mother whose heart had been damaged in a car accident that Marcus had declared beyond repair. Her impossible successes were making her colleagues look incompetent by comparison. "How does she keep pulling off these miracles?" Richard whispered to Marcus after Evangeline's latest success. "It's like she's using some kind of witchcraft." "She's just getting lucky," Marcus replied, but his voice betrayed his growing fear. "Luck always runs out eventually." The real betrayal came when Evangeline discovered that Marcus had been falsifying her patient records. He had been changing her success rates, adding complications that never occurred, and reporting deaths that had never happened. He was building a case to present to the medical board that would destroy her career forever. "Dr. Thorne has a pattern of reckless behavior," Marcus had written in a confidential report to the board. "Her unconventional techniques are putting patients at risk, and her emotional instability makes her unsuitable for high-stress surgical environments." What Marcus didn't know was that Evangeline had been keeping meticulous records of her own. She had been documenting every case, every outcome, and every instance of sabotage. She had also been secretly recording conversations and collecting evidence of the conspiracy against her. But Evangeline's real advantage was something her colleagues never suspected. She had been developing relationships with the most powerful people in medicine around the world. While Marcus was playing petty politics. Evangeline was corresponding with leading surgeons from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and the Mayo Clinic. Your innovative techniques are exactly what cardiac surgery needs, Dr. Sarah Chen from Johns Hopkins had written in response to Evangeline's research papers. Have you considered applying for our new advanced surgical fellowship? But Evangeline had bigger plans. She had been secretly documenting every instance of medical malpractice, insurance fraud, and patient abuse she had witnessed at Metropolitan Medical Center. She had evidence that would destroy not just Marcus, but the entire corrupt system that protected incompetent male doctors. The confrontation came when Marcus finally made his move. He called Evangeline into his office with representatives from the medical board, confident that his falsified records would end her career. Dr. Thorne, Marcus began, his voice filled with fake sympathy, we've been reviewing your performance, and we have some serious concerns about your surgical outcomes and professional conduct. Evangeline sat calmly as Marcus presented his fabricated evidence. She listened to his lies about her supposed failures and his recommendations for her immediate dismissal. When he finished, she simply smiled. Are you done? She asked quietly. Marcus was taken aback by her calm demeanor. I think the evidence speaks for itself. Your career at this hospital is over. Evangeline opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Actually, Marcus, I think you're the one whose career is over. She placed the folder on his desk, revealing months of documented evidence, recordings of him admitting to sabotaging her equipment, proof of the falsified patient records, evidence of the bribes he had paid to medical board members, and documentation of his sexual harassment of female staff members. You see, Evangeline continued, while you were busy trying to destroy me, I was building a case that will destroy you, and I wasn't working alone. At that moment, the office door opened and 3 people entered: Dr. Sarah Chen from Johns Hopkins, Dr. Michael Rodriguez from the Mayo Clinic, and Rebecca Williams, a federal investigator specializing in medical fraud. Dr. Blackwood, Rebecca announced, you're under arrest for medical fraud, conspiracy, and violation of federal healthcare regulations. Marcus's face went white as he realized that his victim had become his destroyer. This is impossible. You're just a woman. You don't have the power to. Actually, Dr. Chen interrupted, Dr. Thorne has more power than you ever imagined. She's been offered the position of Chief of Cardiac Surgery at Johns Hopkins, and her revolutionary techniques are about to change the field forever. But Evangeline's revenge was just beginning. Over the next few months, she systematically exposed the corruption at Metropolitan Medical Center. Her evidence led to the arrest of 12 doctors, the firing of corrupt administrators, and the revocation of the hospital's accreditation. Meanwhile, her career soared to unprecedented heights. At Johns Hopkins, she established the Thorne Institute for Advanced Cardiac Surgery, where she trained the next generation of surgeons in her revolutionary techniques. Her methods were adopted by hospitals worldwide, saving thousands of lives annually. From operating room to boardroom, how one woman revolutionized heart surgery. Read the cover of Time magazine, featuring Evangeline as one of the most influential people in medicine. But her greatest achievement was the impact she had on female doctors everywhere. She established the Evangeline Thorne Foundation, which provided scholarships, mentorship, and legal support for women facing discrimination in medicine. They tried to break me because I was a woman, Evangeline said during her keynote speech at the World Medical Conference. But every time they sabotaged my equipment, I learned to be more resourceful. Every time they questioned my abilities, I became more skilled. They thought my gender was my weakness, but it became my greatest strength. The ultimate revenge came when Evangeline's research led to a breakthrough in artificial heart technology. Her innovations made her the most sought-after cardiac surgeon in the world, and she became the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Medicine for surgical innovation. At age 35, she was appointed Surgeon General, making her the youngest and first woman to hold the position. Her former colleagues watched from their prison cells or unemployment lines as she became the most powerful medical professional in the country. Revolutionary surgeon becomes Surgeon General. Dr. Evangeline Thorne's rise from victim to victor. Read the headline in the New England Journal of Medicine. Marcus, now serving a 10-year prison sentence for medical fraud, would watch her televised medical conferences from his cell, knowing that the woman he had tried to destroy was now saving lives on a global scale. But Evangeline's greatest satisfaction came from the thank you letters she received from patients around the world. Thousands of people were alive because of her techniques, and millions more would benefit from the female doctors she had inspired and supported. The best revenge isn't just success, Evangeline said during her TED talk that received over 10 million views. It's using your success to save lives and create opportunities for others who face the same challenges you did. During the Q&A, someone asked if she ever regretted not pursuing a quieter career in family medicine as her colleagues had suggested. Evangeline's response was powerful. They wanted me to be quiet, compliant, and invisible. Instead, I became loud, revolutionary, and impossible to ignore. Every life I save is proof that their attempt to silence me failed. Years later, when medical students studied the history of cardiac surgery, they would learn about the Thorne Revolution, how one woman's refusal to accept discrimination had transformed an entire field of medicine. They thought putting me down would keep me down, Evangeline would tell her students. Instead, it taught me to rise higher than they ever imagined possible. Sometimes the greatest surgery you can perform is cutting toxic people out of your life and healing yourself. Marcus had thought he was dealing with a weak woman who would crumble under pressure. Instead, he had created his own worst nightmare, a brilliant surgeon with unlimited resources, unshakable determination, and the power to expose corruption wherever she found it. The woman who had once been sabotaged in operating rooms now owned the most advanced surgical centers in the world. The doctor who had been told to stick to feminine medicine had become the most powerful voice in healthcare policy. Dr. Evangeline Thorne had proven that sometimes the most healing revenge is simply becoming so successful that your enemies become case studies in how not to treat brilliant women.